0311 a.m. North Atlantic, 145 miles off the coast of Iceland. The sea above was calm, but 3,000 feet beneath the surface, the world was anything but. The U.S. fast attack submarine USS South Dakota SSN 79 drifted silently through the freezing dark, its sensors locked on one of the most strategically sensitive structures on Earth, the North Atlantic fiber optic backbone. Most people never think about it, but more than 95% of the world's digital communications, banking transfers, government messages, military traffic travel through these cables resting quietly on the ocean floor. They are the true arteries of global power. Tonight, something was disturbing those arteries, and the U.S. submarine was ordered to find out. 0314 a.m. The first anomaly. The sonar operator frowned. A faint metallic vibration echoed across the hull. Not sea life, not civilian equipment, mechanical, precise. He isolated the frequency and ran a filter. Another signature appeared, then another. 3 distinct acoustic returns moving slowly along the seabed. The computer classified them. Unmanned underwater vehicles. Russian origin confirmed. The room went silent. Russian underwater drones, operating illegally at the exact location of one of the most critical USNATO communication cables. This wasn't reconnaissance, this was tampering, possibly sabotage, or worse, data interception. 0318 a.m. Condition 2 alert. A soft-coded alarm activated, silent, controlled, but urgent. Crew members moved, weapons technicians to stations, navigation teams to intercept course, sonar specialists to full sensitivity, drone countermeasures at standby. The captain studied the sonar plot. 3 drones, triangle formation, slow speed, depth hugging the ocean floor. Classic Russian seabed operations group pattern. Highly trained, highly intentional, highly dangerous. He ordered, shadow without exposure, no light, no broadcast, silent running. The hunt began. 0323 a.m. Russian intent. As the U.S. submarine closed distance, details sharpened. The drones weren't random. They were equipped with manipulator arms, hull-mounted cutting tools, high-sensitivity sensors, secure transmission arrays. These were not exploration drones. These were Poseidon-class seabed intruders, designed for cable tapping, cable mapping, cable cutting, or installing listening nodes. If one succeeded, Russia could quietly siphon encrypted traffic from Western networks. Worse, they could cripple communications overnight. This was a direct threat to U.S. national security. 0330 a.m. The Intercept. The USS South Dakota maneuvered into position. 20 meters, 15 meters, 10 meters. Close enough to see the faint thermal trail the drones left behind. Then, suddenly, one drone turned toward the submarine, as if it sensed them. But how? South Dakota emitted no sound, no active sonar, no radiation spike, yet the drone rotated, facing the submarine perfectly, like an animal detecting a predator. The sonar operator spoke, barely above a whisper, "Sir, it knows we're here." 0333 a.m. Drone counter move. The Russian drone then transmitted a short pulse, a digital burst, encrypted, directional. Seconds later, the other 2 drones stopped their cable inspection and formed behind the lead. A 3-unit formation turned toward the U.S. submarine, not fleeing, approaching, a maneuver no Russian drone had ever attempted publicly. The captain exhaled slowly. This was no accident. This was a response. 0335 a.m. The standoff begins. Deep in the blackness of the Atlantic, 2 forces faced off, a billion-dollar U.S. fast attack submarine and 3 small Russian autonomous drones, each potentially carrying explosives. At this range, one wrong move could trigger a chain reaction. A damaged cable, a disabled drone, a misinterpreted torpedo signature, and the world could plunge into the largest underwater crisis since the Cold War. The captain issued a controlled order. Prepare non-lethal deterrents, pattern echo. Small capsules armed with pulse wave disruptors loaded into launch tubes, not weapons, defensive tools. The U.S. intended to warn, not attack. 0337 a.m. Unexpected interruption. But before South Dakota could deploy countermeasures, sonar detected another contact. Much larger, much deeper, much faster. Identification struggled. The signature blurred, then stabilized. The computer returned a chilling match. Russian Oscar II class submarine, a cruise missile submarine capable of firing anti-ship missiles, land attack missiles, and torpedoes. It was approaching the drones and the U.S. submarine. Full speed, direct path. The XO spoke what everyone thought. They're not protecting the drones, they're coming for us. 03:39 a.m., the Oscar II takes over. The massive submarine slowed as it entered the drone triangle. Then, in a move no one expected, it transmitted a powerful acoustic burst. The drones immediately responded, they stopped, turned, and began retreating, one by one, away from the cable, away from the U.S. submarine, back toward deep Russian operating waters. The Oscar II then broadcast a second signal. This one was different. Message decrypted, "You were not the target." Another followed. Move. Sonar detected a new sound. Metal straining, hatches shifting, hydraulics pressurizing. The sound every submarine crew fears. The Oscar II had opened torpedo tubes. The captain's voice was steady, but grave. Combat readiness. Brace for hostile launch. The hunt had escalated into something far more dangerous because in seconds, a torpedo could be in the water, and then nothing would remain silent. The U.S. submarine thought it was intercepting drones, but Russia had other plans, and the ocean was about to reveal them. 03:43 a.m., seconds before impact. Inside the USS South Dakota, the pressure was more than physical. It was psychological, strategic, global. Everyone knew if a Russian Oscar II fired a torpedo at a U.S. submarine near a NATO cable route, the world would awake to a completely different morning. The XO stared in disbelief. Why would they block their own drones? But the answer became clearer with each passing second. The Oscar II wasn't here to defend the drones. It was here to contain them. 03:46 a.m. Drone behavior changes. The three Russian drones, which seconds ago were acting with coordinated purpose, suddenly began moving erratically. Their formation broke. Their motion jittered. Their navigation systems glitched. It was as if something disrupted their guidance systems. One drone spun in place. Another dropped rapidly toward the seabed. The third drifted toward the cable, uncontrolled. The sonar operator's voice cracked. "Sir, they're malfunctioning." But the captain shook his head. No, they're being overridden. By who or by what? 03:48 a.m. The Russian warning. The Oscar II transmitted a third acoustic burst. Long, high energy, encrypted. For several seconds, the U.S. audio system struggled to process it. Then the translation appeared. Containment protocol active. Another message followed, even more cryptic. Do not interfere. Unstable. The captain felt the blood drain from his face. The drones weren't on a mission. They were out of control. 03:49 a.m. The threat reveals itself. With their internal systems corrupted, the drones' security protocols activated. Self-destruct mode. The sonar operator shouted, detecting internal energy spikes. Sir, they're priming charges. Small drones, but each fitted with demolition-grade explosive cells meant for cutting armored cable. If even one detonated near the fiber optic backbone, the damage could be catastrophic. Massive communication loss, data interruption, global economic impact, military intelligence disruption, hours of digital blackout. This wasn't sabotage. This was an accident waiting to become an international catastrophe. The captain issued the order instantly. Prepare shock pulse countermeasure. We disable them now. 03:51 a.m. Russian countermove. But before the U.S. could act, the Oscar II launched something. Not a torpedo, not a weapon, a counter-drone suppression pod. A Russian device used to neutralize malfunctioning unmanned vehicles. It sank toward the drones, spinning, releasing pulses of acoustic distortion. Two drones froze instantly, locked in place. The third kept drifting toward the cable. It didn't respond. Its self-destruct charge continued to warm. The XO whispered, "That one's blind. It's gone autonomous." The Russian pod couldn't stop it, but the U.S. submarine still could. 03:52 a.m. U.S. intervention. The captain didn't hesitate. Deploy shock pulse. Tube 3. A cylindrical drone launched silently from the South Dakota. It raced toward the rogue Russian drone. For a moment, the drone seemed unaware. Then, a thunderous low-frequency pulse rippled through the water. The rogue drone seized, spun, surfaced slightly, and its internal charge shut down. The sonar operator exhaled. Charge deactivated. Drone disabled. The cable was safe. For now. 03:55 a.m. Russian acknowledgement. The Oscar II transmitted again. This time, the message was different, cleaner, formal. You stopped detonation. We acknowledge. Then a final line appeared. Leave now. This wasn't aggression. It was instruction, and maybe a warning. 03:58 AIM Strategic Command. reacts, a secure undersea buoy link sent a burst back to Washington. Russian drones malfunctioning. Russian submarine containing them. U.S. submarine forced to intervene. Massive cable threat prevented. No attacks, no casualties. No war inside the Pentagon. Analysts debated, were the drones hacked? Were the Russians testing something? Or was a third party involved? One analyst finally said what others feared. Underwater cyber interference. Someone hijacked the drones. But who? No nation would admit. Not Russia. Not the US. Not anyone. 0402 AM. Mutual withdrawal. The US submarine backed away from the drone site. Slow. Silent. Controlled. The Russian Oscar II did the same, but before it left, it sent one final encrypted phrase, "We did not deploy them here," meaning the drones weren't intentionally sent. They weren't supposed to be near the cable. They were relocated by someone else, or by something else. 0409 AM, the real mystery. As the South Dakota resumed normal depth, sonar detected one last acoustic signature on the seabed, a faint beacon. Not Russian, not American, not NATO, not identifiable. The signal pulsed once every 14 seconds, like a heartbeat. The sonar operator whispered, "Sir, what is that?" The captain stared at the glowing mark on the screen. He didn't know. No one did. But its meaning was clear. The drones weren't acting alone. Someone else was in the deep, watching the cables, manipulating assets, testing boundaries, and for the first time in years, both the US and Russia were equally unprepared for what they saw. The drones weren't the threat. They were the symptom. Something or someone was moving beneath the Atlantic, unmapped, unclaimed, unexplained, and next time, it may not malfunction.